So here we are today looking at an article from the Daily Express, and we don't go to the Daily Express often for, well, obvious reasons. First of all, it is a place where reality just does not exist. And as I have said several times before, whatever version of the Express must be printed must be coming from a parallel universe where everything that is put in the Express makes sense in the context of their real world situation and scenario. And yet, when you ever look at the Express, it is currently based on complete fantasies, delusions, and pure straight up propaganda, essentially. You can't turn it any way, which way you want. And that is why we don't ever really go to Express, because it would never ever really have, I would deem, anything really proper and newsworthy. However, it is good time to time to have a look at them. Oh, pardon me, to have a check in on them, just to see, how they're doing over there on the Express. And certainly on this front, it makes it quite interesting, because if you've been following the whole Brexit, scenario like we have on this channel for quite some time now, you would know that the polls for Brexit haven't been looking good for quite some time now. And you've got a situation where, at least really constantly now for the past couple of weeks, you've had poll after poll after poll with big majorities saying, yeah, we want to rejoin the EU, and Brexit was clearly not working. And one of the things, bizarrely enough, even though the Express, of course, was responsible for, Liz Truss versus the lettuce, all these things that the Brexiteers want, all the very things that the Express has ever championed, was what Liz Truss wanted to do. That is what these ultra hardcore Brexiteers want to do. So, as we're going to see today, you've got to prove Brexit work, Rishi. Rishi, you've got to prove that Brexit works. Well, guess what? All that stuff that Liz Truss was doing, all the Brexiteers championing. They were saying, yes, 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 we're going to make Brexit work. This is it. And of course, what happened? Liz Truss, the most shortest ever prime minister, who did not either die in office or was assassinated. Yeah. So, with that said, before we go jumping into the Express and their wonderful parallel universe that they love to at least report on, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and watch the support and support the channel that way. And of course, down below there is the YouTube thank you button, and of course this Pony Club subscription as well. So, over we go to the Express for their story on this, with the title of "Sunak Under Pressure to Show Brexit Works as Support for Rejoining the EU Soars in Poll." I noticed they say poll, not polls, but because it has been a number of polls for quite a while now that has been the case. But anyway, let's get to it. So, polling guru Sir John Curtis has warned that the majority of people polled in the UK are now constantly in favour of rejoining the European Union. Speaking to LBC, the Scottish professor warned that the polls suggested that there are, quote, the first signs of voters in the UK turning against the 2016 Brexit vote. He said that, on average, that the last 6 polls on Brexit show, again, I've said it before, very deceptive title, because it isn't just one poll, it has been multiple polls, which interestingly they are actually admitting to in this article. But there you go. Anyway, you're saying on average that the last 6 polls on Brexit show at least 57% of people supported rejoining the UK, rejoining in the UK, while 43% wanted to stay out. And these polling figures put the new Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who voted to leave the EU, under growing pressure to show that Brexit works. And bear in mind that what happened to the Minister for Brexit Opportunities? Well, obviously they got rid of him because this came in, of course, under Boris Johnson, because Johnson wanted to show that, oh yeah, Brexit worked, and it was, a massive, piece of red meat to the, the right wing of his party who wanted Brexit. But even then, you had Jacob Rees-Mogg in that position, who didn't even prove any opportunities for Brexit or show that anything worked. So it became just a single point of very, very particular embarrassment for the government. And it's understandable that Rishi Sunak just went, yeah, no longer an individual minister position. Not surprising at all that Sunak would get rid of it, because it just became embarrassing for the government to have. And as we've said multiple times before, if there were serious actual Brexit benefits, or like this massive Brexit opportunity, the Brexiteers would be crying about it non-stop. The Express would dedicate entire articles to like the 1% of this opportunity that it has given. It just hasn't happened. But anyway, back to it. Sir John explained, saying, "It is currently true that over the course of this year, there has been a gradual move in the direction of people saying we should be in the EU rather than outside. It is not as dramatic as the collapse in the fortunes of the Conservative Party following Liz Truss's financial event, but if you take the average of at least the last half dozen polls that were asked whether people would rejoin the EU or stay out, at the moment we have a 57% of people saying we should rejoin, while 43% want to stay out. It has been a while since the opposite was true. If you would have to go back to earlier in this year and find an individual poll that has a majority saying that we should be staying out." The leading pollster continued, saying that YouGov have asked people since the autumn of 2016 whether, in hindsight, the decision to leave the EU was right or wrong. And on average, the last half dozen of those, 52%, have said that it was wrong, with 35% saying it was right. That gap has certainly widened this year. And certainly, there is some indication that support for Brexit has declined this year. I would argue it's longer than that, but there you go. He also continued to say, and these are the first signs that we are beginning to move in a non-trivial degree to people saying that we would be better off inside. Earlier this week, the former Bank of England governor, Mark Carney, said that Brexit had shrunk the British economy. And it has shrunk the British economy. There are a number of reports saying that that has been the case. He suggested the link between Britain's decision to quit the European Union and the Bank of England's latest hike in interest rates. However, some senior cabinet ministers have come out to demonstrate that Brexit's triumphs. Really? Like what? So, of course, Trade Secretary Kimmy Badenoch revealed that the UK removes a, quote, new trade barrier somewhere around the world every week. Really? Really, Kemi? Like what? Plus, you don't remove these barriers every week. That is not how international trade works. You don't just go, yay, trade barrier removed, yay, trade barrier removed. That's not how it works. So that is ultimately, I would say, certainly a pack of lies being put forward by Kemi Badenoch to say that, hey, Brexit's working in her new trade secretary role. But again, I wouldn't say it's true. And as we've talked about in the past, whenever we've talked about these new trade deals with Australia, New Zealand, the one with Canada and Japan, they've all been exact replacements of the one that we've had in the EU, sometimes even worse. And the one with Japan was massively in favor of the Japanese economy compared to ours. The ones done with Australia and New Zealand are massively in their favor, giving them, as the government in Australia figures themselves, everything they wanted. That's, again, not how you should be doing trade deals. Yeah, it's very, very worrying. But anyway, we'll finish this off. The government has also promised a post-Brexit bonfire of trade barriers expected to deliver up to £20 billion worth of exports for the UK economy. Every single barrier you remove means that we cannot trade with our closest trading partner, and that is, of course, the EU, which affects us even more. You look at the global trade trends, people have been exporting a lot less to the UK since Brexit. There has been this big boom and uptick in trade since the pandemic, but not in the UK, not with the UK numbers. Why? Because our closest trading partner was in the EU. You just had to, jump across the channel and you're in the EU. It took about, maybe even a day to get something from in the UK to somewhere in Germany or even France or even get to Spain. Now that's no longer the case. And unfortunately, as this continues, the more it damages our economy, which we always said right from the very beginning. And we are now starting to see more and more clear evidence of just how bad Brexit has affected our economy. And now people are starting to feel the effects of it because there haven't been no Brexit opportunities. There is no, way to show, that Brexit works. And the fact that we are now seeing that momentum swing in the, yeah, we should rejoin is fantastic because it was always said it was going to happen. You had that initial swing, and then once people saw it and woke up to the truth. So yeah, we will eventually rejoin. It is basically just a matter of time, and it is not going to be that long, probably. Certainly in the direction that these polls are going already. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Like I say, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.